3 ways to beat the holiday blues before the season even starts. So a few years into my business, I remember things started to go well as a therapist. I remember I started to see my clients do really well. I started to see an influx of clients. So things were going really good for me. But I remember one summer, I looked up and I wasn't getting a lot of referrals. My clients, they were actually doing a lot better, which was great, right? We always want to push that. But I remember that I wasn't getting as many referrals as I used to. And I remember going and asking one of my colleagues, is this happening to them as well? And they looked at me and they said, oh yeah, of course. I was like, okay, like what's going on? She said, well, it's the summertime. During the summer, a lot of people are going on vacations. People are spending time out with their families, the outdoors. Like life is good for a lot of people during the summer. And I said, okay, cool, that's great. But then she said, well, just wait until the holiday season. And I'm like, why? Like, what happens during the holiday season? She says, well, have you heard of the holiday blues? And I was like, no. Well, she starts to go on and explain to me about this thing called seasonal depression, right? Seasonal depression typically happens during the fall and winter months. There's a lot of things that happen during these months that contributes to, the depression and things like that. And she started to tell me all these things. So some of these things that contribute to someone falling victim to seasonal depression, the holiday blues, is one, the weather. The weather, it starts to drop. Temperature is not as high as it used to. So as a result, people are spending time indoors. People are not going out with their friends. And as a result, people are starting to isolate themselves. This is very similar to what we saw during COVID. The second thing that we start to see is that the sunlight hours are not as high, it's not as long as it is during the summer. So during the winter, the days are a lot shorter. And as a result, you don't get as much vitamin D from the sun. And vitamin D is what we call a neuroprotector that protects you from things like anxiety and depression and things like that. So there's not a lot of sunlight out there. But then also reality starts to set in. For a lot of people, during this time, you see that, man, everybody's having fun time with their friends, their family, their loved ones. And during this time, it may highlight that you're missing those things. It may highlight it through grief, divorce, breakups, or not just being on good terms with your family, right? So it goes against all the commercial stuff that you're probably seeing at this time. And as a result, this is bringing on that seasonal depression. So seasonal depression is depression that happens during a certain part of the year. Some people, they tend to have depression all throughout the year, right? And it's because that's just, chemical imbalances going on in their brain, right? But for you may be going through this just simply because it's that time of the year. And that's what we want to talk about in this podcast. So in this podcast episode, I'm going to give you guys 3 ways to beat the holiday blues so that you can finally enjoy your holidays and not spend them feeling depressed and overwhelmed with sadness and all these negative thoughts. So before we get into the first point, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can join this community of, honestly, entrepreneurs and professionals that are just killing it when it comes to their business, but also their personal life, their careers, their relationships. Everyone that's a part of this community, they get high-level tools, high-level strategies that I use in my personal sessions. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I would love for you guys to make it to the end because the last point is a game changer. So the first main point that I want to give you guys is this: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So for me, during the summer, there's a few things that I do. So during the summer, I typically have cookouts. I typically go to the beach. I go for walks with my family, my friends, also by myself. I love playing spades during that time. And also my family has an amazing family reunion that they always do during the summer, right? And these are just a few things. There's a lot more, but those are kind of like my go-to things that I do during the summer. Now, here's the thing. During the winter, I still do these things. And the best thing about living in Florida is that, well, the temperature year round, it doesn't change that much. It's kind of like summer year round. There's a few days, a few weeks where it does get cold, but for the most part, it stays warm. But if I were living in a place where it does get cold during the winter, I would still do a lot of these activities. Here's the thing, you may have to adjust them. Like for instance, during the winter, I probably don't even go to the beach. I don't get into the water even down here in Florida during the winter, but I still go to the beach because of the views, right? Because of the people, because I'm out and about. For you guys, you can do the exact same thing. So for example, if you're someone that loves having cookouts during the summer, well, during the winter, maybe you don't have a cookout, but maybe you invite friends over for food, right? Maybe you guys have a potluck. If you say, hey, during the summer, I normally go to the beach just like I do, but during the winter, the beach is not let's say a great place to go for you. Well, maybe you can still go somewhere like hiking, go for a walk through the park, maybe go through a walk downtown. There's so many things that you can do. The thing is, we want to make sure that we're doing the same activities in the spring and in the summer, and we want to do those things in the winter, okay? So if it ain't broke, do not fix it. So what I want you guys to do for this first point is I want you guys to write down 5 things that you typically do during the winter, right? During the summer, during the spring, and I want you guys to do them in the winter, all right? Now, when you write these things down, I want you to ask yourself, what are the values behind these 5 activities? Like when you do them, what is it that you gain from them? So for me, it's more than just having a cookout, right? It's more than just going to the beach. It's more than just playing spades with my friends. It's all about being outside. It's all about having this idea of community, right? It's all about just doing things that I personally have fun doing. We can still do those things in the winter. We can just change the activities a little bit, but still get the values from them. So again, write down 5 things that you love doing during the spring and during the summer, and I want you guys to do them during the winter. All right, point number 2 to help you to overcome those holiday blues is to be a squirrel who invests in the spring, okay? Be the squirrel that invests in the spring, and don't be, let's say, the grasshopper who just eats everything, right? So what do I mean by this? Well, during the spring and during the summer, I want you guys to invest in your relationships, right? Invest in the relationships, whether you're going out with friends, you're calling them, you're inviting them to your place, you're going to their place. I want you guys to invest into these relationships because when the winter comes, right? So if you live in a place like Minneapolis, right, for example, or Alaska or New York, right? So places up north, or if you're over in the UK, right? This may be places like London and every place that's very far away from the equator, right? When it gets cold, it tends to get dark quickly. And when it gets dark quickly, people necessarily don't go out as much. Well, I want you to still have these relationships intact, even when the winter months come. This is something that was very helpful for people when they went through COVID. So back in 2020, everything shut down. Everyone was isolated. And guess what happened? Suicide rates were up. Depression was up. Anxiety was up, right? Us as therapists, honestly, we were overwhelmed, right? Because everyone needed to see a therapist at that time. Well, what did we learn during that moment, right? Well, we learned that, man, it's important to have human contact. It's very important to have these support systems. Well, I want you guys to start investing in those things in the spring, in the summer, so that when the fall comes, you can then call on these people. You don't feel like, man, you're in this isolated, let's say, place, if you will, spending it all by yourself, because what that's going to do is exacerbate the depression and the sadness that you already have. So in this point, make sure that you're reaching out to people. There's so many ways to do it. You can even do this through, let's say, Facebook, right? Like there's so many great Facebook groups. I personally am a part of a few. A lot of my clients are a part of some. Join Facebook groups if you find that it's tough to meet people. But then also I need you to reach out to people that are, whether it's in your community, so at your gyms, they go to your churches, they go to your temples, right? Wherever you go and have fun, invite those people. Now, this is going to be a big one for my entrepreneurs because you spend a lot of times by yourself. The only time you may find yourself speaking to someone is maybe a customer or a client. So if you're an entrepreneur, this is especially important to you because you don't have the luxury of having coworkers or sometimes even leaving your house. So make sure you invest in your relationships. Main point number 3, the final point, the third one. And guys, this is a great one. This is my personal favorite. So what I want you guys to do is to give the holiday season a new meaning, right? So here's a good thing. I'm taking a chance when I say this, but I'm willing to bet that you've seen all the holiday movies, right? You've seen every Christmas movie. Like you've seen Home Alone, you've seen The Grinch, you've seen Polar Express, you've seen Elf, Preacher's Wife. Like you've seen them all, right? So like you're not missing anything new. So what I want you guys to do during this time of the year is give it a new meaning. Because here's the thing. Right now, you may be looking on social media and seeing families taking pictures together, couples taking pictures together, right? You're seeing all these messages about what Christmas, Thanksgiving, and the holidays should be about. But what if you don't fit into those boxes? What if you just got divorced? What if this is the first year you're spending where your loved one is no longer alive, right? What if you are not on good terms with friends and family? There's so many things that could be happening right now where you don't fit into what society or what these commercial industries are saying that holiday season should be all about. If that is you, what I want you to do is this. I want you to give your holiday season a new meaning. It could be a time for rest. It could be a time for reflections, or it could be time of rewards, right? You can choose whatever it is that you want. Give it a new meaning and then ask yourself, how do you manifest this new meaning with your actions? So what I want you guys to do, take out a pen and paper, really journal this, right? Really ask yourself during this time, each and every year, what is this time going to mean for me, right? What is it that I need during this time, right? Because here's the thing. We're wrapping up 1 year, right? So you spent the last 300 days just building, working very hard towards your dreams and goals. And this may be a time where you do take some rest, where you do reflect on what went well and what didn't go well. But then it's also maybe a time where you journal about the future that you want to take into the new year. What do you want this next year to be all about? So there's so many opportunities that you have. And I want you guys to take this time to really reflect and ask yourself, what is it that I need? What is it that I want during this time? So I'm gonna go over the 3 tips that's gonna help you to overcome the holiday blues before the holiday season even starts. And the first one was, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What makes you happy during the early parts of the year will make you happy during the holiday seasons. We just gotta make sure that we're aware of what those things are. The second thing is be a squirrel, invest in your relationships. Don't wait until, let's say, the winter or the fall to start reaching out to your connections, reaching out to your support system. These are things you could do throughout the entire year. So let's start working on those things, especially if you're an entrepreneur. And then the third one, give your holiday season a new meaning. Not everybody's going to fit into what society or what the commercial industries say holidays should be about. If you're one of those people, feel free to give this time of the year a new meaning for you. And you can journal out what you want this time of the season to mean for you. These are some easy and simple ways to help you to overcome the holiday blues before the season even starts. So my name is Coach Wells. Thank you for checking out this podcast. If you found out that this podcast was valuable, I want you to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. All right, guys, I'll see you later.